Well, hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening. Well, we are here right outside of Chicago, and you know what? We are so happy because of the weather. I think tomorrow is supposed to be in the 70s, even though it's supposed to rain. I don't care because it's no snow. And I'm just so happy that it is no snow. So I want to start off today just giving you a little something that I think you should take with you throughout the show and just, in your everyday life. And this is what I'd like to share with you. Respect in relationships is not about agreeing on everything. It's about valuing each other even when you don't. Okay? So, in today's political climate, I talked about this on my last show. In today's political climate, you know what? Respect. Even when you don't agree, respect. Don't scream and yell. I gave you some tips and tools on how to de-escalate these kind of conversations that we're all having in today's world. But remember, respect. Respect. Okay? Now, let's talk about what's happening today on Relationship Matters TV. I'm having this wonderful guest, her name, and we're going to have this empowering conversation, especially for you out there, midlife women. And there are a lot of you out there. Her name is Joan Stenzler. She is a holistic psychotherapist, a communication design strategist, and a relationship empowerment coach. She has over 30 years of experience. She is a clinical and wellness professional with that experience, that over 30 years, to take us from healing trauma to profound personal transformation. She specializes in helping smart, compassionate midlife women who are often silenced, and we're going to talk about that. Who often silence themselves to keep the peace, whether with aging parents, adult children, partners, or at work. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Navigating midlife transitions, family dynamics, caregiving, just whatever you feel and whatever you would like to ask her. So I really want you, my audience out there, to, if you have questions, if you have comments, I really want you to be a part of this. So that's all. But I don't want to hesitate any longer about bringing her on. So here we are. Hello, Joan.
Hello, and good evening, and thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
And it's great to have you. I wanted you on the show because there are so many of us out there who need you, who need what you have to say. But before I start, I like to ask my guests, how did you get into this particular niche, so to speak? How and why?
I come from a family of very smart and very, I don't want to say opinionated. They were opinionated, but very smart women that weren't afraid to speak their mind. And sometimes it was inconvenient to others when they did that, but they would often step up when they felt it was important and say what they felt mattered. And they were great role models to me. My grandmother, my mom, my aunts were an inspiration to me and taught me from a very early age that when there's something on your mind and you feel it's important, you value it. And then when you value it and share it with others, they will value it. That doesn't always work quite that way when you're a child because parents like to be parents. But, truthfully, my parents did want to hear what I had to say. They may have disagreed, but they encouraged me to speak up. That's one reason that I'm in the profession that I'm in. Another reason, there are several. Another reason is that my great grandmother was a healer. And I think
Oh,
it's in genes to be a therapist and healer and to empower women and men and couples.
okay.
Um, the third reason is that my dad was an English teacher.
Okay.
He taught me to love the power of the spoken word. So I loved listening to people, especially him, reading out loud. And it helped me to understand the power of the word to have an impact on someone else, to move them, to feel a certain way. And so one of the things that I really specialize in is helping in the work I do to choose the words I use when I work with people in a way that's going to help them to feel safer, to feel more at ease, to feel more at peace, and to teach them how to do that when they design their own communication, when they're having a challenge in a way that feels authentic to them, but also more likely to help their partner, if the partner has the potential to do this, to relax enough to hear what they have to say so that they can be successful in the communication.
Listening. Listening. So, what is a holistic psychotherapist?
Well, I call myself a holistic psychotherapist because I have training as a licensed clinical social worker, right?
Okay. Okay.
Many of the things that are discussed and dealt with within a traditional psychotherapy situation is more about what's the problem, what's wrong, what are your symptoms, let's give it a name, and then we can put this paperwork into the insurance. That's a necessary part of the work, but I don't see people that way. I've always looked at people and said, and believe this from my heart, and this is very my own spirituality, there's something inside of each of us. I believe this with my heart and soul. There's something inside of each of us that's pure and that hasn't been touched by challenges, difficulties, or trauma. And the purpose of my purpose as a therapist and also as a catalyst, as a coach, is to help people find that place and then live from that place of authenticity. And what that involves is it involves looking at everything about the person. So
Okay.
when I meet with people, sometimes I'll say to them, well, what'd you eat yesterday? I had a patient many years ago who'd come in very grouchy every morning. She'd come in and she'd walk in and she was grumbling. And I'd look at her and I'd say, you didn't have breakfast, did you? And she looked at me like, how did you know that? I said, you're diabetic. You need to eat in the morning, right? You forgot, right? And she said, yeah. So I mean
Okay.
that's an example of it. I also had a desire after doing my master's level training to add something else to what I did. And I just wanted something that would help enhance what I was offering the people I was working with. So I went back and I became a yoga teacher.
Oh,
So I have
okay.
a professional level yoga certification. And in the process of learning yoga and studying for my certification, I learned a lot about meditation. So I teach people about meditation. And I teach meditation. And I also truly believe that a majority of challenges that most people have, high functioning people who are struggling in their lives, has to do with some disconnect in their relationship.
Okay.
And
So,
so,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
well,
ahead.
no, that's okay. And so part of the reason that I focus on communication is because there's a direct link. Of course, you know this, right? There's a direct link between the quality of your communication with others and the relationship you have with them. So if you improve your communication, most often, not always, but most often, it helps to improve the relationship.
Preaching to the choir.
I thought you'd say that.
So now, why did you choose to focus on midlife women?
Well, I'm a midlife woman, that's first of all.
Okay.
And second of all, because what I've realized over the years, I've worked with different ages of women and couples and men, right? But mostly with women. Most of the people I'm working with are women. I realized that when we're younger and we have, we're part of a young family and we have kids and we're focusing all of our attention on making sure that the kids are doing okay and that our partner is doing okay, our spouse is doing okay. We focus our attention outward. And it is often when the kids get older, they're less dependent on us. We begin to come into our own in whatever way. We may have already started working before that, very many women do, right? But the awareness of the disconnect within the relationship is often not discovered until you're in midlife, because people are just busy and they may feel like, oh yeah, I wish I was able to have this conversation with my husband. Well, we'll do it some other time. Or, oh, I wish I could resolve that misunderstanding, but we're too busy. So then when the busyness drops away, then awareness comes up of, gee, that thing that's been bothering me is still there. And it's at that point that women have the question in their mind, like, well, what do I do with this now?
Okay.
It's been there for a while and I didn't really focus on it before. Now I'm focusing on it. What do I do?
So what do we do? And I know you said something, I read something in your bio about how we silence ourselves.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Why do we? I mean, in your opinion.
A lot of reasons. Okay. I could talk about this all day, but I'll give you the basic 4 or 5. Many women, and not always, but many women are raised to be the nurturer, the peacemaker, the one who organizes everybody's schedule, keeps the house, and does all of that, even if she's working, right? We're expected to do all of that. So we're expected to carry more than our fair share of the load. And because we want to be a team player and because we want to keep the peace, we avoid having those conversations because we want to avoid conflict. So being a peacemaker is one of the first reasons. Another reason is we don't want to be misunderstood. What if I say that and they think I'm being unreasonable? Or what if I say, I need help with this, and they feel like, wait a minute, what are you doing? You were doing this all along, so, or what if I say it and it causes conflict? So often because of the fear of someone else's negative reaction, a lot of times women will say, I'm not so sure. Now, the thing about it is that many women will say that because they've actually had that experience. It's not just a fear that's unfounded. It's something that many women have experienced. There are good men out there. There are wonderful men out there that were raised to expect that a woman's going to pick up a whole bunch of stuff and take care of things. And sometimes it feels like too much. And then a woman is like, well, I'm exhausted. And here's another reason. I'm exhausted, but they've become used to having me do that. So how can I stop doing that? I want to be that nice person, right? So that's another reason. I want to be nice. I want to do it. And I don't want someone to misperceive who I am and think, oh, look at her. She's so selfish. And then the other one is when we are feeling a level of emotional overload because we've been doing it for so long. It's interesting because one would think, if you think about it objectively, well, if I feel emotionally overloaded, then I'm going to ask for help. Guess what most women do? What most women do, and I laugh about it. It's ironic. It's not really funny, but what most women do when they're overloaded, when they have too much to do, and something else comes up that needs to be done, they say, give it to me, I'll do it. They take on more because they're used to taking on too much and they're used to doing too much. And so the other thing is at that point, when they're feeling so overloaded, it's like, oh my God, I'm too exhausted. How could I possibly risk having that conversation and then having conflict. So they're like, I'm gonna just take care of it.
Gee. Yeah, that sounds like so many women that I know and me. That it's just like, what, whatever. I just let it go, leave it alone. Don't want the conflict. Don't want to be perceived a certain way. How do we get out of that? How do we make that transfer? How do you help women make that transformation?
Well, one of the first things that I do in the work that I have been doing for quite a while now, one-on-one with people, and also in my group coaching program, Finding the Courage to Speak Up, the first thing we look at is what's getting in the way? What's
Okay.
blocking us? So we look at the internal obstacles and the external. Internal obstacles include family, culture, and society. What are the messages that we got growing up? And what are the messages we still get? And how do those messages, and how have those messages affected the way our identity has been formed, how we see ourselves? And that also includes others' expectations of us. Others expect us to do things a certain way. If we do them a certain way, we can tell ourselves, well, we'll be loved, we'll be accepted, we'll be appreciated. But if we don't, so then what ends up happening is a lot of women accommodate to what other people want them to do because they feel that that's the safe way to do it. And of course, it has costs, you know. So family can be unique and individual based on a specific person's family. Culture can be similar from one family of a similar culture to another and differ a little bit. And then society, what messages we took in. So that's the first thing. And then we look at it and we identify what the obstacles are, and then we work them through and say, well, what would you feel makes sense to you? Do you see that some of what you're doing is understandably the result of all of this? And how do you want to be yourself? How do you want to identify? How do you want what do you want your identity to be? And then to begin to talk about it, and how to be able to get past those fears is to be able to find ways to dispute the false beliefs and dispute the fears and say, well, what's the worst thing that can happen if I say something? Now, the thing is, right, there's a bunch of different things here. First of all, one of the things that I have come to, one of the ways I've come to explain this phenomenon of women avoiding speaking up, I call it communication procrastination.
Yes, tell us about that.
So it's basically when an important conversation is avoided because of the reasons I gave you. Fear of being seen as a problem, or fear of conflict, or not being able to be the peacemaker, right? And part of what happens is when you continue to avoid having that conversation, resentment builds up. So it was annoying the first time, and it's more annoying the second time. And as it continues, if there's something specific, let's say someone's doing, let's give a very simple example. Let's say someone's doing something annoying, whatever it is, a mild thing, and you really want to say something, but you're like, oh, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it. After a while, if it's something that's really annoying you, it becomes resentment. And then sometimes what happens is you're resenting the other person, but if they don't know that that thing is bothering you, really the resentment is toward yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that that's often what happens. We're resentful of that person because we say to ourselves, they made me feel that way. And the thing is,
it's their fault.
Right. Exactly. Whereas when you take it back and recognize, and this is part of the process, that was something we chose, that was something you chose to do, and you have a choice of doing things differently. Right? Because if you don't, what happens? It creates emotional distance in the relationship. It creates loneliness. And one thing that's the worst, it can cause a lot of misunderstandings
Yeah.
that after a while just get locked in, and then you feel like you're two boxers in the ring and you're sort of holding on the sides and you don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
that can be very, very difficult. I think one of the keys in a lot of this is that we need to feel emotional safety in order to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And when
Mm-hmm.
we anticipate in advance that there won't be emotional safety because there's going to be conflict or we will be misunderstood, then we justify to ourselves, in not such in a conscious way, but we justify to ourselves not saying anything, because we believe that that's probably what's going to happen. And you know what? Nobody wants to feel attacked or blamed. And certainly we want people to listen to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if we don't know whether they're going to do that, then we're likely to pull back and say, maybe next time.
So what happens when, let's say, that scenario where there's something that kind of annoys you, and then you don't say anything because you might feel that, okay, they're going to look at me in a certain way, you know, or call me the B word or think I'm the B, you know. And then when you speak up, that happens. And it reinforces
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you to go back into your shell, so to speak. And well, I thought that they were going to misunderstand me. I spoke up, they misunderstood me. That's what I get for speaking up.
I knew it. I should have been quiet.
Right.
So that's a very good question, and that's part of the reason why, sadly, when women are in abusive relationships, why they end up shutting up and not saying anything because they're afraid of having that reaction, because they have had that reaction from whoever they're with over and over again, right? So one of the things I say to people is it's not always, I wouldn't say 100% that if you have something to say that you feel that it's important enough that it's a good idea to speak up. I think a lot of times it is, but I think you need to look at and think about and know your audience. That's like
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with someone who has in the past been reasonable with you, tried to listen to you, been supportive, understood what you said to them sometimes, there's the potential there that they might be able to hear you.
Okay.
Need to read that. Now, I
Okay.
mentioned this to you earlier before we started. There are certain people out there that don't listen, that aren't interested in hearing what you have to say. You could stand on your head and whistle whatever song you wanted. They're not going to pay attention because they're not interested in having the conversation. They're interested in saying what they want to say, getting their thoughts out, and then fleeing the scene, so to speak, right? I call these people communication saboteurs
Okay.
because that's what they do. They, they don't listen, they interrupt you, they contradict you, they ignore you, which is one of the worst things when you're talking to somebody and they act like you're not even there. And if you have had experience with someone like this who has done these kinds of things consistently, and that's what I say to the women that I've worked with and that I am working with, check the audience and see what the potential is there for them to listen. If every conversation ends up with either them taking it and kidnapping the conversation, that's what I say, kidnapping the conversation and running away with it, and you're left standing there like, what just happened, right? Or if it ends up being a dead end, that may not be a great person to have a conversation with. So, assertiveness on the one hand is expressing things clearly, respectfully, but saying what's on your mind, right? There's another kind of assertiveness, which is not as obvious. The other kind of assertiveness is to say to yourself, I'm making an assertive choice that I'm not going to waste my time or my energy having this conversation with this person if they are a saboteur, because it's not going to go anywhere at all, period. And that's one of the hardest decisions for a woman to make. But if you have someone like that and they expect you to keep coming back and trying and trying and trying and trying so what to have a conversation, and you suddenly you go radio silent, they're like, what's going on?
Wow. So a question just came in, a text just came in.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, oh, what is the most challenging aspect of your profession?
That's a very good question. It's hard for me to say because I've been doing it for over 30 years and I love what I do. I still love it. What's challenging about it? I think that part of the process in my work, both in therapy and also as a coach, as an empowerment coach for women, is creating the space for them to find their own way and to make their own realizations in their own time. That I can give them advice, that I can offer supported information and suggestions and help them to explore it. But ultimately, they've got to come to that place in their own time. And there have been times when I've worked with really wonderful people I was speaking with someone recently, really wonderful people who, with good intentions, make a decision in a relationship that makes them very unhappy. And I try to say, well, look at the situation and see to what extent it feels like it's working for you before you move forward. But then I leave it alone because they've got to ultimately make the choice and live that to sit from that decision. And it is hard sometimes because I see people that sometimes are walking into a problem and I'm not there. Listen, if I know they're at risk of hurting themselves, or if I know that they're going to harm someone else, I mean, that's a whole other story. Duty to inform as a licensed health
Yeah.
professional, it's all a different story. But so in answer to the question, just really being present with them as they do things that sometimes I know are going to be something they'll regret.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And this other question came in. What brings you joy in doing what you do?
I love that question. I am fascinated with people, and I've always been fascinated with people. And I feel it is a very, it's a great honor and a privilege to be present and witness someone's story and witness someone's transformation when they recognize things that they are able to do they didn't think they could do, and all of a sudden their confidence soars and they're blooming. That's what gives me the greatest joy. And it happens sometimes in small moments, and it happens sometimes over time, especially in my coaching programs, where someone just totally flowers, and I sit back and I say, how lucky I am to be able to witness this, not just to help them, but then to witness that happening within them, because I didn't do that to them. I helped them along the way, but ultimately they did it.
Okay. So I got to take a quick commercial, but when we come back, I want to talk about family dynamics and caregiving, especially when it comes to, communication and and a lot of us, or a lot of midwife, midlife and senior women deal with this because it's like you're at that age where you have these different family dynamics, especially when it comes to caregiving, um, or just the different family dynamics that happen. So I want to talk about that. So I'm gonna make a take. I haven't had any dinner. My words are getting all crazy.
I get that.
Right. So we'll be right back with Joan. And if you have any texts come in, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the chat. So she is here. If you have something that you really want to ask her, don't hesitate. Put it in the chat. But we will be right back after this.
From right to left, and every angle in between. Know what I mean? In this day and age, so many seem like they're lost inside a world and held captive in a dream. A glimpse of mediocrity, take one for the team. And even though this path is long and this place is unforeseen, gotta keep your feet moving, filling spaces in between, seeing places in your dreams. If you complacent by your means, by all means go back to sleep. The path is steep, there's no rest for the weary. If you intend to reach peaks, it gets deep. Come on, it's infinite, we still climbing. Yes, yes, y'all. And thanks for the positive vibes, but I still got a mountain to climb. Just take it one step at a time,
I'm gonna
yo.
ball till I fall, gonna ride till I die. I'll never give in, yo, if I wanna survive. Not gonna swallow my pride, I'll never give up. Cause when it's all said and done, is what I've done enough. I push myself to the edge, I push myself to the brink. Is the toil all worth it? It makes me stop and think. But through the mud and the mire, the joy and the strife, no one can claim that I didn't live all of this beautiful life.
We are back with Joan. Now, both of those books are available on Amazon.com. And if you are an author and you're looking for a video promo, you need to contact lowski2lowpan@gmail.com. And let me put it in here. I will put it, here it is, right here. There it is. It's lowski2lowpan@gmail.com. If you're looking for a video promo, he's also a videographer and a photographer. If you're looking for someone to just video something that's happening, proms are coming, birthday parties, contact lowski2lowpan@gmail.com. Okay, so we are back. Now, Joan, let's talk about communication, relationships, being women in situations where we feel we must keep silent. Let's talk about that.
Okay. I heard you say before being in the role of a caregiver. Are you talking about someone who's like in the sandwich generation, taking
Yes.
care of kids and parents?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say keeping silent, can you give me an example of what you mean specifically with respect to the situation?
Okay, so let's say you are a caregiver.
Mhm.
and it's a parent, but it it might not be a parent. It could be a spouse. And you are, and when I say silence, sometimes women fear saying anything to someone outside of that family dynamic, how they feel about it. They might be frustrated, angry, but they don't say anything because they feel that they will be misunderstood. Example, for a lot of the people who are out there, but some who don't know, I am a relationship communications coach, but I'm also an adult daughter aging mother relationship coach. Mm-hmm. And I would sometimes, when I was caregiving, would vent until one day someone said to me, "You need to stop talking about your mother. You need to be happy that she's still with you." So I didn't say anything. After that, at least, I thought, is that the way they see me when I'm venting? I'm venting, because I'm frustrated, I'm tired, I'm angry. Mm-hmm. So I guess in a sense, that's like external, what do you call it? Communication saboteur. They sabotage my communication. That was external. And then internal, it's like, oh, wow, is that the way I'm sounding? So that's a scenario.
Okay, good scenario. I think I want to start with the last part of it first. Let me just say this in general. Anyone in that situation would have a very hard time not having someone they could trust to confide in, to vent, and to be able to say to them, I love my mom. And there are times when it's just really hard for me to do this. And because she used to be able to do these things for herself, and now as she can, and as a result, she's frustrated. And when I try to help her, she resists letting me help her. I'm telling you a little bit about what I dealt with my mom when my mom was going through this, right? But I just need to talk to somebody. I love her, and I'm not saying this to say something negative about her. I'm just sharing with you what my experience is. So one of the first things is to be able to find a way to frame it so that it's clear you're not just complaining, that you're saying, I need somebody to hear what I'm going through because I'm frustrated. And because when we talk about situations where we're frustrated, it helps us to feel better.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Second thing is what I was referring to before. Know your audience when you're talking to somebody. There are times, and I know I'm sure you had many experiences of this. Unfortunately, we all have, where we need something specific, and the person does not give. Not only do they not give us what it is we really need, they give us something else that makes it worse.
Yeah,
makes it feel worse. Like, I didn't come to you to talk to you about how I felt about this because I wanted you to judge me. I came to you because I wanted you to listen, to pay attention, to take what I'm saying to heart and just recognize and give and show me some compassion and empathy, because what I'm dealing with is hard.
Yeah.
So knowing who you're talking to is very important. And certainly there are many families in which, and many people who believe that it's a terrible thing to talk about anything happening in the family, outside the family. We keep everything in the family. Now, if that's possible, that's great. Sometimes the people we love are the people that are hardest to deal with. We can really love them, but they can be very difficult to deal with, whether it's their mood or whether it's as someone in the family. I mean, let's say it's a parent. As a parent is aging, they're dealing with the reality that what they used to be able to do, they can't do. So they're more frustrated. They might be more irritable. Yeah. They might be more impatient, and you're just trying to help, and they're snapping at you, and you're like, I don't want to say anything, but I'm having a very hard time. So it is important to find somebody you can trust. Sometimes people within the family will do that for each other, and sometimes people need to find someone like you or someone like me to talk to.
Yeah.
And get some good stress reduction tips.
Yeah.
And how to manage it.
So let me ask you this question. How do we know we need to make this transformation from being silent to really talking and, telling people what we need, what we want, being more vocal about who we are. How do we know that we need? Because some people, when I'm thinking about this, you can have people, friends or colleagues, and you can see that they need this transformation, but they are unaware. So how do you know when you need this?
So you're asking two things, both of which are very interesting, by the way. The first question is, how do you personally become aware that it's time to get find somebody to talk to, or if you need some help to deal with your own struggles with seeing a parent aging, with worrying about the future, things of that nature. So I think what I just said is one of the ways. I think you will certainly benefit from finding the right therapist to talk to if you're struggling with your own realization about your parents' mortality and their health condition, the changes that are happening, and you worry about their future and also how your future will be entwined with theirs as they get older. So that's one way to tell. Another way to tell, if it's not specifically about your concerns about them and the future and worry or anxiety, about that, is when you start seeing yourself get snappy and impatient and like, so paying attention to that. Like, if you are normally a person who listens and is kind of level about the way you're communicating and how you're interacting, and suddenly you find yourself getting very edgy and irritable, and your voice starts getting very, very, staccato and louder, and that's an indication, for whatever the reason, something's going on. So if that happens for any reason, it's a good idea to kind of check in with yourself and say, what am I feeling, and where might that be coming from, and then to check in, and then to be able to figure out you need help. At the very least, to talk to somebody about it, if it's that way. I mean, it could be a lot of things. So like I said, we talked before about that I'm a holistic psychotherapist. Someone came to me and they were saying that. What I would say is, well, let me ask you a question. Are you eating regularly?
Okay.
Are you drinking enough water? Do you get enough sleep? Is it because you're sleep deprived because you've been on a project at work and you're exhausted and you're edgy because of that? Maybe it has nothing to do with that person you're taking care of. So to figure out what the reason is for it. Mm-hmm. The other thing you said, which is a very touchy situation, you said, what if you notice that in someone else?
Yeah.
I actually had someone recently tell me about this because his brother is taking care of their father. The father has dementia. And he noticed, and other family members have noticed, that the brother is very edgy and very jumpy, like not jumpy, but he kind of jumps in response. His responses are very fast. When people say things, he gets defensive. And that's an example. I mean, the person that told me this said I wanted to tell him, but I'm afraid if I tell him, he's going to bite my head off, So sometimes you might want to try, and you could look at the situation and say, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work. So maybe I'm going to leave it alone. But to be able to, perhaps if it's someone that you have enough of a good relationship with, to say, we haven't had lunch lately. Let's get together and just, how's everything going for you? And give them an opportunity with his space and where they're not in the role of the caregiver at that moment to tell you. And then if they tell you, then it would be easier to be able to say, gee, that's really got to be very hard for you. How do you manage that? If that happened, if I felt that way, I know I'd feel really overwhelmed. How are you doing? To see what they say. And then at some point, maybe to say, well, if you want, you could say, if you want to call me and talk about it, we can. I'm happy to be a listening ear, and it'll be just between us. It'll be confidential. Or if it's somebody where you might not think they would be open to that, or you could offer that first, you could say then, there are people that you could see that would help you with this, like a therapist or a coach.
Yeah.
And I happen to know someone wonderful, and her name is Dr. Janice Fortman, and I'll give you her number. You can see her,
So
But
do
it's
you see this, Joan? Because we only have a few minutes. I just want to get this in. Women who come to you and they're having this situation as far as not speaking up, but wanting to in their professional lives.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have a great story for that. Great story. There was a woman I worked with for quite a few years, and she became part of my women's empowerment incubator programs. And she was working at a school. She was the head of a department. The administration had no clear guidelines or rules as to how anything was run at all. And she would go to them for help, and they wouldn't help her. And she'd go to them again, and they wouldn't help her. And this kept happening. And so basically, she went to them and she told them what she needed. She made it very clear and she put it in writing. And not only that, she helped write a manual for the department with protocols and procedures, which she then was able to use, but not because they helped her, right? And then it got to the point where she was feeling unsupported and she was really frustrated about it. She came to the women in my group and we talked about it together because it's a very co-creative process where people help each other out, aside from what I do to support them. And people said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, I really would like to work doing something else. And we said to her, what do you want to do? She said she's a speech and language teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing. And she's excellent at it. And she said, I'd really like to do this as a consultant. So we said, well, what would you need to do in order to get that kind of job? So she said, oh, I could go on LinkedIn or I could talk to some people in the community. I have a lot of contacts. And I said, that's great. So she went back to her bosses and she said, listen, I need to really feel that you're supporting me or I'm not going to be able to stay in the position. And they didn't continue to support her. And then she landed a job and she went into them and she said, I'm gone. I'm leaving. She didn't say I'm gone, but I said, I'm leaving. And she came to us in the group. And we were, if I tell you, everyone was cheering. We were all cheering. You did it. That's fabulous. And she felt like $1 million. The confidence that she felt in that moment was amazing. Most people think that they have to wait to have confidence in order to do that difficult thing. Doesn't work that way, right?
That's
You
right.
gotta do the thing. And I'm not saying something that's gigantic, but you got to do something medium level that you didn't think you could do. And after that, what happens? Your confidence soars, absolutely soars. And that's what happened. And she was delighted with that job. She's working remote. She makes her own hours and she's getting paid more than before. And she's making the rules.
All right. So you have something for my audience here. Tell us about it.
I do. So I have a free gift. Now, if this conversation resonated with you and you identified with any of the things that we're talking about, and you recognize yourself in some of these patterns, I want to offer you a free guide. It's a communication guide, and it's called Stop Carrying It All. It's got a long subtitle, so bear with me. It's a guide to stop pushing past your exhaustion, ask for help, and say no without feeling guilty. And it's a very concrete, practical guide, which has areas for you to journal and write down your specific issues and problems. And it will give you ways to ask for support, set healthy boundaries, and say no without feeling guilty. So the link is on the screen, so you can click the link and get a copy for yourself. And I hope it is helpful. And if anyone out there is interested in any kind of further information from me, you're welcome to get in touch.
Yes. And gee, how can you get in contact? Well, first of all, go on her Facebook page. And that's on the lower third. And so you just go on Facebook and it's Joan Stenzler. For people who are Audible only, It's JOAN.STENZLER. And you can also go on her Instagram page, and it's Stenzler Jones. So it's STENZLER Jones, JOAN. Now, you go on those two pages, either one of those. Now, the ones who are watching, of course, you see it on the lower third. But I definitely encourage you, because I know you all are out there. I know you are out there. And I know we need to speak up and stop being silent. So, Joan, I would love for you just to give the women in my audience and men just one last, what would you like to leave them with?
Okay, good question. Sometimes what we do is we avoid conflict. We avoid speaking up because we want to avoid conflict. But if the thing that we've avoided speaking up about is important enough and it's building up resentment in us, what will end up happening is that by avoiding conflict, we will cause it.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
And so we have to be discerning about when we speak up. We also need to recognize that there are times when we have every right to say something, but we need to give ourselves permission. I have the right to say this, and I can say it nicely and I can say it kindly. And in the event that anyone is interested in directly having a conversation about this with me, Dr. Jan, I sent you a link by email a little while ago. I offer a free communication strategy session where you can give me a specific problem that you're dealing with, what we're talking about tonight, and I can offer you some suggestions for what to do. It's my pleasure.
All right. All righty. Well, now all of you all, you know what? This is what you can do. Just send it here at, where can I find it? Yeah. Send it here. Yeah. Send it to relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com. And I will forward everything to you. So that is relationshipmatterstv@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Joan. You've helped me. I'm going to speak up.
I'm so glad. And anytime I can be of help, I'm happy to do that.
I'm going to speak up. I'm not going to remain silent anymore. But you know what? I'm going to say this. One thing about being senior, and I got to get off, but one thing about being senior, a lot of times what you used to be silent about, it's like, you know what?
What difference is it? My grandmother, may she rest in peace, she was with us till she was 92. She said, you know what? At this point, I'm an old lady and I can say whatever I want. They're going to think, oh, there's a crazy old lady.
Right. So thank you. Thank you so much, Joan. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome, I'm sorry. This has been delightful. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
So you have a beautiful, blessed rest of your evening.
And you do the same.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, this has really been eye-opening. So all of you women out there, you know what? When you've got something on your mind and you're like, I'm not going to say anything because they might misunderstand me, or they might call me, oh, she's just that B word or whatever. You know what? Go ahead. Follow what Joan says and go ahead. Speak your mind. Don't be silent anymore. Be respectful, but speak your mind. So it was a plum-pleasing pleasure to see all of you this evening. And I really want to thank you for joining in and for the text. I didn't see anything in the comments, but thank you all for texting me questions and comments. I will see you again on Relationship Matters TV. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. And remember, there are all kinds of relationships and all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. Bye-bye.